This game's not won on social media. This game's not won on telephones. This game is won with shoulder pads, helmets, mouth guards, and sweat. That's how the game is won.
Welcome to week 12 of the Bill Neese's Coach Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Neese. Show is brought to you today by Dick Lumpkins. Got a bump, call lump. Coach, big win on round one of the playoffs. Indians take care of Stebbins in back-to-back weeks, 51-6. This game had a little different feel to it than the first game. This one, we came out of the cannon, shot out of the cannon, really took care of things really early. By the end of the first quarter, it's 21-0. I watched the replay again last night, and as I'm watching the game, there was no doubt the Indians were in control right from the beginning, and we really defensively put them in some really tough positions.
I think we did in a little bit of the fact that we're a little bit more flexible in how we're able to play sometimes on defense. I think I said a couple of weeks ago that our outside linebackers really give us that ability to go out in space and do some things and defend a pass. And I think this week proved they can also come up, stay in a box, and do some things inside. And so we were fortunate that we're able to give them a couple different looks and be able to be, like I said, just a little bit more multiple than what we usually are defensively, and that helped. And it also helped that we got off to a way better start on offense. I think that put them a little bit more into a let's get going situation. I think last week it was 7-7 at halftime. They're like, hey, this is great.
Yeah, they were comfortable.
Yeah, it's very, very comfortable. I think we got them uncomfortable a little bit early, and as a result, I think that helped out.
Well, there are a lot of different factors for us, but I thought both sides of the ball we were making, like you said, we put a little pressure on them offensively. Brady looked fantastic. Had two big touchdown passes again to Colton Booker. We got some things going on the run with Sam Schmeezing and Cayenne. So we had some great mix of getting the ball on the ground, but there's some things in the air as well.
Yeah, and for us, the big thing is they had an explosive offense. They have 2 or 3 guys that are very explosive on offense. And the week before, we allowed no play over 20 yards, and I thought that was excellent. We ended up and had 5 explosive plays ourselves. Well, this past week, we held them to no play under 15 yards. Which our defense even got better than that. So I think those are situations where you got to look and say, okay, we improved from last week. We looked at, we did some things. I thought our offensive line did a fantastic job of getting better from the first week to the second week when we played them. Because again, there were some things, they were doing some gap flipping and doing some other things that we hadn't seen in the last couple of weeks. And we were able to kind of get that back on the board, understand what the footwork is involved, and our offensive line really embraced that.
Yeah, you can no question see the offensive line certainly made more of an impact and dominated their defensive line. On the flip side, I thought our defensive line did a nice job of really pursuing those guys, Derek Jones, and I think I was watching even John Z and Bernie, those guys really were putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and he's very elusive. He was very difficult to, but the 2 guys, again, that stood out when you look statistically and you watch the film, I'm sure it was the same way with Sam Schmeezing with 14 solo tackles, and then Mickey Anderson continues to play well on the defensive line with 8, and both of those guys get a fumble recovery.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Sam actually caused one of them also, and at the same time. But it was good. It was a game that, like I said, we came out and we executed well, and they made an adjustment. We blocked 2 of their punts, so they made an adjustment. They were going to go keep their offense in, and they were going to do like what we call an Ashland punt, because it was the first team we've ever seen do it, where you stand at 7 yards, kick it, and punt it.
Right.
All right, try to get everybody to get off balance. Well, the first time they did it, it worked for them. It was good. The second time, we were able to flip our safety to corner, our corner who's our normal kick returner to safety, and Dre makes just an amazing circus catch, turns around and runs that back. The bad thing about the Ashland punt, so to speak, is, and this is what people don't understand, we like it if somebody would do something like that, because the bad thing about it is you got 5 guys that are big offensive linemen that are wearing numbers 50s through 70 that are chugging down the field. And if you can catch it, the whole idea is no one's supposed to catch it, but Dre was able to catch it. So that's 5 guys that were not involved. So basically we had, 10 guys blocking, 6 guys, so to speak.
Well, and the other thing you talk about, Drayshawn catching it, go back to what you talk about on punt returns. When you catch the ball on a punt, it really puts us in a better advantage versus it dropping behind.
There's always that hidden yardage, especially when somebody kicks you the football, you've got to make sure that we got some hidden yardage. And we learned a couple lessons too. I mean, we hadn't had a safety around here in a while, and they lined up to punt it because you have the option of either kick or punt, and we had to take a timeout just to remind everybody that if they punt the football, it's a live ball, rather than a kickoff. And you never know. With high school guys, you never know. You can't sit there and say, well, you should have known that, or we should, take a timeout, get it. And they all claim they knew it, but I really believe 3 people were looking at me like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And so, luckily, we were able to do that and got through with that. So, got out of it pretty well. I thought overall everybody played good. For us, the big spot was the kickoff return right before the half, but that woke us up. That's a wake-up call because our kickoff team has just been rolling. I mean, they've been the ones that Jackson does not put in the end zone. We're down there and just slapping people inside the 15-yard line, and it has just been, everything has been our way the entire time. And now those guys got a little adversity, and out at practice tonight, things got a little sharper now.
Well, you haven't been in that situation. Like, we get spoiled. Jackson spoiled us a little bit.
Everybody needs a wake-up call. Everybody needs a flick in the back of the head sometimes to get things rolling.
Well, the one thing that I thought was very adamant that I heard in the kids in the hallway, you could tell in the locker room before the game, that playing Stebbins for a second time, there was something for us, for our guys, they felt like they needed to prove. You talked about we were a little sharper, a little bit more into it. They were ready to go. Whether it was playing him for the second time or round 1 of the playoff, or maybe it was a little bit of both, you can tell there was a different energy in the air Friday.
I think it was all the above. I agree.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, the Indians advanced themselves to round 2, where they will play Edgewood, which is a very familiar opponent. We played Edgewood last year in a playoff game, which was an outstanding game played, where the Indians prevailed 28-21. The one thing that people remember about Edgewood is they run the wing T, which is you don't find very many teams. Of course, Troy's back into trying to do that as well. We saw that a little bit this year. But talk a little bit about Edgewood and what we might be able to see here on Friday night.
Offensively, very balanced, as a wing team usually is. They've got 2 running backs that are both right around 800 yards rushing. They've got the fullback, the muscle, the inside runner, and he's averaging right around, I think, maybe 160, 165 yards a game. He's over 1,000 yards, and he had 164 yards against us last year. So those 3 guys kind of make it roll with their fakes and with blocking for one another. Then they've got 2 guards that can get out and lead the way. And quarterback-wise, they don't throw often, but when they throw, it's very effective. They go for the home run shot a decent amount of times. They also get a lot of really good play-action passing going. He's completing right about 50% of his passes. It's thrown for about 800 yards. So they've got a really good mix of people in terms of the offense, and also in terms of guys that are catching the football. The tight ends caught a lot of passes. They have a split end that's outstanding. He was an all-state defensive back last year. So they've got some talented people that are on the offensive side of the board. On defense, they play a 50 defense. We've seen 50s before, but each 50, it's kind of like each wing tee has a variation. Each 50 these days has different variations as to what they're doing with their outside people. Are they making those 2 tackles 4-eye, B-gap players only, and then creeping those 2 ends, or are they keeping them contained, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got to make sure with offensive line-wise, and they've got an outstanding defensive front. They've got 2 very experienced linebackers. They got one that's their tight end, and then they've got another linebacker that was their defensive end last year. And I think those guys are formidable. and what they're doing with their slants and their angles and things along those nature. And then there are two outstanding people in the back, number 20 and number 27. Those two guys are just tremendous going to the football.
Coach, one of the things that you know is when we played the wing tee, and you talked about they'll go for the home run shot, is you can't fall asleep with those safeties in the back. You know, our defensive backs, they got to be alert and ready to go at all times.
They do. Yeah, they do, and they do a good job of kind of, you know, going out, and then kind of what Troy does on occasion. Then you just spike that one guy over, you know, and get that guy looking this way and spike it back over the other side. So our eyes have got to be good this week.
Yeah, Coach, the feel of the team as we get through in the playoffs, it's interesting listening. As you can tell, they've got it's exciting. There's a difference between regular season and postseason. And we always have talked about one game at a time. That's always kind of been the mantra. That's why the team has been where they are and successful as they are. It really does help as you get into playoffs of taking that one game at a time, because you really can't look beyond where you're at right now, because we can't go to next until we take care of this business right in front of us.
Exactly. And you know, there's very few quote upsets anymore. I think a lot of teams are good. And you don't know when you look at a team's schedule. Okay, you look at their record. Okay, you know, a lot of people can just, you know, sum it all up. You know, just look at it and go, oh, I can sum this up in one sentence. But I don't think a lot of people realize that maybe during the course of the year they had some injuries. You know, they had to play a game without their quarterback. They had to play a game without two of their offensive linemen. And sometimes you have, in high school football, sometimes we have some guys that I could replace and do okay. There's some guys that if they can't play that week, we're going to have to go create somebody to go in that spot. So I think we got to take into account that. I think you got to take into account just the fact that they're high school athletes, and you never know sometimes what's going to happen on a given night. So I think as long as we keep fighting to be consistent and you know, work our best to just try to stay on an even level with these guys, and you know, make sure you got backups everywhere. You know, who knows what can happen during a playoff run.
Well, you talk about, and the one thing that I've seen, this came out when just watching the ZE game the other night, staying healthy. And you've said that all year, is being able to stay healthy, and put yourself in a position where, you know, you can put guys in and play and be ready to go.
Yeah. It's exactly right, and just like you know, in your special teams, you know, so critical, and you want to rest people on special teams. You want to try to get some younger guys in. I think we got a good blend in, but you know, coming up this week, we got a guy from Edgewood. He's returned three punts for touchdowns. Count them, 3, all over 60 yards. So that's just another variable that we got to make sure we have covered.
How many times have you said games come down to special teams, and being able to defend that as well is another part of it.
You know, it definitely is. You've got to make sure that if someone, you know, if you're going to give the football away, and especially against teams that are ball control, like a wing T team, if you're going to give that football to the other team, okay, it better be the result of somebody kicking it. All right, you can't handle the ball on a turnover, because then you don't get to determine where the field position is. In this case, if you kick the ball to somebody, either via punt or hopefully after a kickoff, you know, that you just scored, at least you have control. You know, you're getting some field position. But, you know, it's deadly to turn the ball over against a ball control team like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, two guys have been, you know, you use the word deadly. I'll transition to two guys who have been pretty good, and they were deadly the other night in their own ways, and that was Kyan Warner and Derek Jones. Kyan have certainly been outstanding on the offensive side of things. Derek Jones comes in and playing a very important job. He's replacing some big people, and Derek and he talked about. I think Derek has talked a lot about those guys helping him lead. Talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what those two guys have really grown into the program and been big parts of their specific positions.
Well, you start off with Kai, and last year he was thrown into a tough position. You know, going to the Winton Woods game, he's got to play safety against the eventual state champions, and because Medley was hurt, and he was able to, I think, hold his own. And I thought he did a heck of a job. You know, what a tough way to start.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, hey, let me gradually get into this a little bit, not go ahead and hit Winton Woods right off the top. But he put major time in transforming himself. One of our strongest one of our strongest guys. Big, lanky frame, going to be way bigger next year and going to be a force next year. He's just a different kind of runner than we've ever had. He's a tall, lanky guy that runs with power. And he's not going to make too many people miss, but on the other hand, he has a great vision for where we're running our inside and our outside zone, and he really is able to put his foot down and get vertical at almost the right time, almost all the time.
Yeah.
So he's been very impressive.
You can tell he's learning how to run and when to put and when to hit that gap and when to hit it hard.
Yeah. Now Derek Jones, we talk a lot about and you can say it about any guy on our football team. They're a weight room guy. And everybody on our team better be a weight room guy, or else we're A, not going to be doing very well, or B, they're probably not going to be playing for us. We're probably not going to be talking about him. But this cat, now he is a weight room guy from the get-go. We had to figure out, is he going to be a football player? Because a lot of times we have great football players and we say, hey, we'll get you stronger, we'll get you bigger, and it's going to be better. And last year struggled a little bit with the ins and outs. Where are we going to play him? What are we going to do? We got this big, strong guy, but we don't know what to do with him. And this year, it just clicked for him. It clicked from the first day he walked in. He understood. He was understanding where to put his hands. He was understanding the whole point of leverage. That it doesn't matter if he benches 370. And he doesn't have the correct leverage, he's giving away all of his strength. He's just sacrificing his strength if he's going to stand up, if he's going to not use his hands correctly. And he has been just outstanding. And I was so excited for him to see he was second team All-League. That it was just amazing that he was able to go from not being a starter to being a second team All-League player and really being a big play disruptor, so to speak, in our defense.
I remember watching him in particular at the first scrimmage when we were up at Lima, and it was his first time where he was going live against other varsity. Yeah. And I thought he did fine, but you can just see he has gotten better each week. And the one game that sticks out is just even recently we were down at Vandalia, and he clips his finger in the car door, and he had to go get stitches and ended up coming back. I think you even lose that in the show where he's the point to that is he's not only physically tough, he's mentally tough. He's being tough. He's a program guy, as you talk about.
And I still, every time I say something to something about it, he still gives me a look as if to say, I don't get the big deal. And like, man, I'll tell you what, that's. I've had people not be able to practice because the sun was shining too much or something, and he just came in there with those stitches, and it was just amazing. Yeah. To play that position.
And good news is we get him for another year.
Yeah.
Coach, we certainly wish you well and the team well as we head to Edgewood on Friday night.
Thank you.
Again, the game will be, just for everyone to know, it will be shown live here on the Indian Nation station, weather permitting. We are anticipating no weather issues, so we will be kickoff at 7 p.m. at Edgewood. You also can get your tickets if you're interested in going to the game on the Ohio High School Athletic Association website. All tickets, again, will be online, no cash. One plug here I should mention, rumor on the street is there is a pre-show that's going to be at Wings and Rings on Wednesday. AJ Ganger and Brian Gillespie will be doing that show. We invite everyone to come up. It'll be 7:30 on Wednesday. We invite everyone to come to encourage there'll be some player interviews. We'll be talking about not just Friday night's game and the upcoming game, but all of high school playoffs that's going on. It's an exciting time to be a part of it, and certainly the Pico Indians are right in the thick of things. Coach, again, good luck, and we know we'll be ready to roll.
Thank you.
We're going to come back and we are going to talk the players portion of the program. Derek Jones and Kai Warner. Talk a little bit about them and really kind of what makes them and what they think about being an underclassman and the seniors here when we return. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Nieces Show. The show is brought to you again by Dick Lumpkins. Got a bump? Call Lump. Guys, I want to have you guys give your names and positions and class you're in right now.
Derek Jones, defensive tackle, junior. My name is Kai Warner. I play running back, junior.
Kind of will have you hold it for now. Obviously, you guys are coming off a nice playoff win. There is a difference between a playoff game and a regular season game. Could you get the feel, even though you play the team back-to-back weeks, which is kind of an oddity, but Did you feel a difference between Friday night and the week before?
Yeah, I feel like as a team we took it more serious and just took care of business.
Yeah. Derek, talk a little bit about that from your perspective. Guys on the offensive side, but you're on the defense. Did you feel there was a different energy?
Yeah, there's way more energy. I feel like there's more pressure to it.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the edge more than playing a regular season. It's more, you got to play more focused in the game and everything.
You guys have had an outstanding year. We're 9-2, and we get the opportunity to play in another playoff game. What's it like as an underclassman to be around a guys? We got 21 seniors and a lot of good, strong leadership. What's that like from you guys to see that as an underclassman, knowing that next year you're going to be that guy or those guys leading?
I feel like it shows us how to lead the next group that's going to come in. It's going to be bad when we leave, feel bad, but going on, we'll leave an impression on the younger ones.
Kai, what about you? You were kind of in the mix a little bit last year with playoffs, and now you've certainly been a lot more integral part of the team. What about your standpoint from leadership, knowing that, hey, you're going to be the guy leading the locker room?
Yeah, the upperclassmen just give us more of an example on how to lead the team and do our job and just get business done.
I have to ask you, has there been any one particular player through the years that you've kind of seen that you looked up to, even maybe as you were little, or even guys that you're playing with now?
Probably Bryson Roberts. He helped me a lot with running back, safety. He's very smart. He knows the game a lot,
Pretty
too.
intelligent, yeah.
Yeah, so he
got
helped
a good
me.
Voice.
Yeah. He helped me with film, all that type of stuff, learning how to do.
He's not afraid to speak up and give some direction. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that, yeah.
For me, I would say last year Caleb Lyons and this year Anson.
Yeah.
I was on scout. I was always against Caleb, and he showed me how to play defensive tackle. And then you got Anson. He always encouraged the defense to try harder.
Well, if you're going up against Caleb, you're going to know who he is every time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, those are two all-league guys, and you're going against guys in practice. I would imagine practices are intense, and you're going against guys that you just mentioned. Two guys were all-league. Mm-hmm. You mentioned all-league guys, and Bryson. Those are guys that when you're going against, those get you ready for Friday night.
Oh yeah, that 100%. Anthony, he's always there to encourage us, motivating us, even if we're down a couple points. He's always over there rooting us on, encouraging us.
You got to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thanks for that answer. We're getting into the playoffs now, and obviously we got a big game coming up on Friday night with Edgewood and have another opportunity to play. What's it like, though, for you guys as underclassmen to be in part of a team and a program that has been really successful and always has been, but you guys are actually now in the locker room getting to be a part of it?
It's a different feeling than being JV like last year I was. It feels way different. It's something new, and it feels great having all the eyes on you.
Yeah, you're in the heap, you're in the mix. You weren't watching film as a JV player, but now you get a lot more film study and scouting reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kai, what about you on your end? This is really kind of the second year for you. You're kind of now a more of a fluid player who's getting a lot of touches with the ball in the backfield. You're probably learning how to run. You're probably learning how to hit those gaps and things. But for you, what's it been like for you different for this year?
I'm more comfortable now than I was last year because I was a sophomore, but it's I feel more confident in myself, making plays and doing all this and that, and I just feel good to be out there with the varsity players.
Well, I want to wrap this up with a question. You guys have got a year to come back, but have you guys put any thoughts of maybe wanting to play? You guys have both been very successful, have had very good years. Is this something maybe you want to do, maybe beyond high school and play college?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, I want to go to college and play this.
Yeah, I think it's you guys are in a program where you've had a lot of players that have gone and gone on to play and are some playing right now. I'm sure those guys have probably been encouraging to you in some way, shape, or form. But you guys have a chance to write, as we talked to Colton Booker a lot, writing your own legacy. So, best of luck in Friday night as we head down to Edgewood, and we certainly wish you guys well as you guys move through your careers.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Game Friday night is going to be Edgewood at Edgewood. Kickoff will be 7 p.m. Just for your information, we do anticipate the game to be aired live here on the Indian Nation station. You'll be able to get that access through, of course, YouTube, and it will be, again, played on delay as well on Spectrum Channel 5. If there are any changes, certainly AJ Ganger and the station people will let you know through social media. As long as we've got good weather, we'll have room in the press box, and we anticipate an outstanding night of football between two great teams and great weather. So again, Indian Nation Station kickoff at 7 p.m. Guys, go get them on Friday night. Yes, sir. All right, we will see you back here next week on the Bill Nice's Coaches Show. Have a good night.